My talk today is primarily to look at Rennie specifically during the anti-war protest period. Basically a view of this. There are many books that have been written that go into lots of detail of the 60s and the anti-war protests. Rennie was obviously one of the leaders. There were many people involved and hundreds of thousands of young people that got involved in this, and we want to pay tribute to them and to Rennie for what they did, because they ended the war in Vietnam. It started while Rennie was at Oberlin. For Rennie, it started while he was Oberlin. One day he was visited by Tom Hayden, and Tom and Rennie became fast friends and talked a lot about trying to organize students on a national scale. They were joined in that effort by another close friend of Rennie, Paul Potter. Paul Potter would later become the president of Students for a Democratic Society, or SDS, and SDS became one of the largest anti-war protest organizations in the United States. And it was a significant organization, and as I said, many people were behind it, but Rennie was right there and involved. And he was also involved and worked with SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And Rennie also formed an organization called ERAP, the Economic Research and Action Project. This project was established in 10 U.S. Cities, and it fought for economic justice for poor people. So Rennie was quite involved in lots of different organizations, and his leadership to create the environment and the inspiration for leading people to protest the war in Vietnam really came because of his involvement in SDS, and because of his involvement in SDS, he was invited to Czechoslovakia and Madame Bin. And Madame Bin was later, she was an incredible person. Everybody loved Madame Bin because of her energy and the way she talked about her history and Vietnam's history and what was happening with the war in Vietnam. In fact, at that time, Rennie bought back from Madame Bin a cluster bomb, an anti-personnel cluster bomb. And this cluster bomb was really interesting because he was back and started really talking to large groups, showing off his bomb and talking about what was going on with Vietnam, with not only cluster bombs and anti-personnel weapons, but also napalm, and what was going on in Cambodia and what was going on in Laos. And the inspiration for his drive, his passion for this, was his meeting with Madame Bin, who became a lifelong friend. In fact, Rennie met with her fairly recently, a couple years ago, when he was invited back again to Vietnam. The Chicago National demonstrations were organized around the Democratic National Convention in 1968. This demonstration would have been huge. There were about 10,000 people that turned up that day. But it would have been much, much larger, except that Mayor Daley and the Chicago police basically vowed violence. And, come to Chicago at your own risk was the public line that they talked about. So it was a violent demonstration. There were a lot of people in the streets. There were police coming after everybody. There were clubs. There was violence. It was a day of rage, as the weathermen talked about. But it was the Chicago police that were the attackers. And one of the memories I have of that day was Rennie being chased. Basically, he was in the park, and the police came into the park and started shouting, get Rennie, get Rennie, get Rennie. And they came after him. And they found him and clubbed him and hit him in the head, and the blood was gushing out. And he's lucky he survived. The wound was serious, and but Rennie just he sucked it up and put on a bandage and went back into the crowd. And for his efforts, along with 8 other individuals, the United States government decided to indict him, and this became the group called the Chicago 8, and then later Bobby Seale was broken off from the group and became the Chicago 7. At the time, the New York Times called it the greatest, biggest political trial in the history of the United States. It was big, and the trial went on under the eyes of Julius Hoffman, who became quite famous. They were convicted, they were sentenced to jail, but they all got out on appeal. And the appeal was overturned, and the grounds were that the judge overstepped his bounds, he didn't let things happen, and you know, almost every night it was on the TV at that time, and it was embarrassing for the government, embarrassing for Julius Hoffman, and it was embarrassing for Mayor Daley. And they were exonerated.
By carrying the spirit of Chicago back into every corner of the United States, we intend to try in every way we can to inject the issue of the war and the demand to bring home the troops into this election campaign, which is not now on the ballot. We have a 3-point program to try to do all that we can to remind the American people and the world that in this election, which is being railroaded through America, in which Vietnam is the caboose, that Vietnam remains the central issue in the campaign, and Vietnam must continue to be the central issue for the American people, though it is not with the 3 candidates.
Many individuals, including John Kerry, and he and John Kerry worked a lot on trying to get the Vietnamese veterans, the Vietnam veterans, the U.S. soldiers, to return their medals. And in one huge, one of the largest civil disobedience in the United States at the time, and Rennie worked with John Lennon and Yoko Ono I thank my brother for his efforts. I thank everybody that involved at that time, and appreciate that we finally, after so many years, ended that war in Vietnam. And I thank my brother for all that he did for that. Thank you very much.